Hey, can you hear me or see me?
Hey, yes, I can. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. Finally, good to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you, man. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. I appreciate you taking the time. Um, and a lot of people find this conversation useful. So yeah, man, just thank you in advance. How's things in general? How's COVID, working at home, all of that?
Yeah, man. So yeah, it's going well. I was kind of mid March when it obviously all kicked off,
Yeah,
and I actually didn't like the idea of working from home at the start. Like, I wasn't too keen on it, but honestly, it's grown on me. I've had to make some adjustments, like cleared out the empty room. Now I'm in here now, so made some tweaks. I see you like Billy bookshelves as well. Like,
yeah, I see. It looks like an office behind you, man. It's nice.
yeah, likewise, man. Likewise. Like, honestly, this you should have seen the room beforehand. Like, the before and after is mad. But it's nice to just have a space because I was just working in my bedroom, so
Yeah,
it was kind of like it blurred the lines too much. And also,
yeah,
I'll talk about that in the call. And so, no, yeah, I was doing that, and then obviously just had to separate the space. And honestly, I've enjoyed it. Like,
yeah,
feeling far more productive, far more efficient. But since I'm on a rotational thing now, it gets to September time. I'm moving,
okay,
so I'm actually going to think, right, okay, in my new role, I will appreciate that face to face more than now, where I can just
for
crack on
sure.
with my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, interesting, interesting. Well, to kick off, it would be great if you could introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name's Arjun Jeffwa. Currently a first year analyst at JP Morgan. I'm on their finance and business management program, also known as FMBM. Graduated last year at Queen Mary University. I was also studying business and management. That was a 3-year course. And yeah, but that's it. Just about to finish my first year in my current role, which is based in regulatory reporting. But I didn't jump into university straight after A levels. So I actually finished my A levels in 2013. And I just got the opportunity to just do some work for an asset management company, and that was like a rotational school leaver program. So that kind of gave me some exposure to work before jumping straight into university.
Got it, got it. And that program, that's quite a big decision to make after A levels. Like, oh, I'm not going to go to uni. I'm going to start work. What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, so it was kind of around the time when like A levels, sorry, not A levels, like tuition fees went up, and there was a slight drop in UCAS applications. And my sort of logical thinking at that point was, do you know what? I can go to university at any time. I was kind of reaching the point where I was getting sick of this study, learn, exam, study, like that cycle, and I
Yeah,
thought I'd just break away from it. And kind of the thing I had in the back of my head is I had some like rough insight into finance, like doing the odd spring week, not spring, but like a level insight program at
yeah,
JP, at BAML, and that kind of gave me some insight into, right, okay, I want to get into banking, but I had this inkling from research I did at the time. I don't necessarily need a degree to get into finance. So that was kind of my thinking, and I thought, right, and this great opportunity came up for a company called Close Brothers,
mm,
and they had like a school leaver program which was well established at the time. It's known as Aspire, and
okay,
just at the time when I was interviewing, they said, well, we're looking to maybe develop our program within the asset management division. So that kind of inspired me. I thought, right, okay, this is a great opportunity. I was fortunate to get it. And it was great because it allowed me to rotate around the business, front office, middle office, back office,
yeah,
and then an inkling of, right, where do I see myself? And then obviously, cut a long story short, I reached a point 2.5 years later where I thought, I want to change of scene. I actually want to go to university to unlock, new opportunities.
nice, nice. And in that 2.5 years, obviously, you were getting paid like a full-time salary, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Like I was just another employee. It just so happened that I was 18 years old,
Mm,
very fresh out of school. Yeah, and again, I was just a normal employee. And even though I was on a program, they were very welcoming, and they were kind of
mm.
expecting me, and they also had awareness of that program before. So it's kind of like I was navigating a very well beaten path, so to say.
Yeah. That's super interesting because I know there are thousands of kids out there who would jump at the opportunity, go and work in the industry for a year or two, and then go and do uni, right? Because a lot of people like me, if I was in your, like, if I go back in time, I would have done what you did, but I didn't know of any opportunities like that. Who organizes that, or was it, I don't know, is there a specific company that sets these things up for young people, or?
Yeah, so yeah, I think it was a website at the time. Again, this is testing my memory so much because this was around 2013. But I think there was a website called Not Going to Uni, I'm not sure if it's still a thing. I'm sure it must be. Feel free to check it out. But Not Going to Uni was essentially a website. But I think I checked out, and they advertise this program. Is it still around? I hope it is.
Yeah, notgoingtouni.co.uk. I'll link
Yeah.
it in the description of the video when this goes up.
Yeah. And honestly, that's, the thing I worry about is like at 18, 19 years old, and like you said, looking back, you wish you'd done that. And it was a risk. And when I was about to finish my role, so many friends and family were like, Arjun, you're working, you're earning, you're moving up slowly, of course. Like, why do you want to quit? And, maybe it's a bit of a risk, but the reason why I wanted to go to university is, I needed that change of scene. I was kind of ready more mentally, and I had that maturity at the stage to think, right, I actually went into university knowing why I wanted to go in. Like, I actually wanted to unlock new opportunities. Because sometimes when you don't have a degree and you're looking to apply for jobs, like, it's like you need to tick a box of having a degree, and it's like it's so frustrating. So that's kind of why. And I wish, going back, like, even now people rush into university because at year 13 everyone has a UCAS, everyone has a personal statement, everyone's like, it's beaten into you. Whereas I feel university isn't going anywhere. You can go at any age. I wasn't even the oldest person on my course. I went to university like 21, 22. There are people there who are older than me. So I wish other people did the same.
So, okay. So then when you got to uni, did you have a game plan where you're like, all right, I need to do this internship this spring week, or was it just go there and get a, high grade?
Yeah. So like, I think it definitely helped because I wasn't, having been out of the game, so to say, and like I had a steady job, I could see from the sidelines how the recruitment process was working. I wasn't having to like a one-time shot of like having to throw an application. I could see, right, spring weeks are happening, internships are happening, you apply at this time. I could see it. So I was kind of building that awareness that, right now I can watch your video and you'll tell me everything I need to know about spring weeks. We didn't have that in 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
I had to build that awareness at the time. And that's kind of what allowed me to be like, okay, when I do go to university, I need to maybe get onto some insight days, build my network, leverage the charities that, apply to my certain socioeconomic circumstances, and then try and build that out. And essentially that's kind of got the ball rolling,
Yeah. Okay, got it. And then, so you did your insight program at Macquarie. What was that like?
Honestly, I loved it. Like, I kind of, my baseline going into that was obviously working for 2 years for a set firm, Close Brothers. And then, everyone talks about like, oh, the culture's different, or like, we're so unique. And sometimes in my head, I just roll my eyes like, God, like every company's so similar. Like everyone moves around, it's all the same. But like, what was great on that program was it was a great program. Like, you got such good insight into, right, what do they do? How do they do it? The mobility was crazy, people moving from Australia, which is where they're headquartered, to like people in the UK, moving across the region. So it was really good. It was very intense, but I enjoyed it. And again, like it gave you that learning awareness at early stage to kind of be like, right, I like these divisions, I don't like that division, it was a good learning curve.
Yeah, got it. And then that, I'm guessing, it contributed towards your CV to helping you land your summer internship at JP Morgan. How what would you say allowed you to beat the competition to secure an offer at JP Morgan? Because obviously it's not easy to break in. What differentiated you?
Yeah, so I feel like I get this question like a lot. Like, I'm quite active on LinkedIn, and then a lot of people message me saying, how did you get in? What made you unique? And looking back at the initial recruitment stages, like, I can't stress enough the importance of actually spending time just putting in a good application. Like, I know it's changed a bit since I did it. Whether it's your interview, whether it's motivational questions, the CV, those three things are what you're based on. And people get into this habit of just copy and pasting, bang out applications. It's quality over quantity. And for me, I had to articulate, why did I choose that division? What interested me? And having a slightly unique selling point is saying, I did this before going to university, and having had some insight into JP Morgan through doing their webinars, doing their school program back in 2012 when I was in A-levels, I had some talking points, so to say. It wasn't just coming in fresh and, just replacing the name of a preset cover letter and just sending it hoping for the best, because that's what people do. And that's why they get rejected.
Yeah, I guess you planted a lot of seeds beforehand, and that all kind of came to fruition when it was crunch time, which all helps out. Um,
Yeah,
so then the internship, was it a 10-week internship or shorter?
yeah. So it was in summer of 2018. It was a internship in Canary Wharf, again, in the F&BM division. It was quite a niche team I was based in, but again, like it was such a good opportunity to again comparing the insights of JP Morgan to like a Macquarie to a Close Brothers to any other bank. You
Yeah.
get a real good learning insight into like what is it like working for a company of that size? Because obviously up to that point, no company is that big, right?
Yeah. And so the division that you did it in, it would be great to get a bit more insight into that, what you did day to day on the internship, because I know there'll be a lot of comments or questions from viewers wondering as well.
Yeah, so finance and business management, it's a program which integrates the financial side of things, whether it's reporting, whether it's the product control, whether it's closing daily P&L numbers aligned to a business. But then you used to have the business management side, which is more, you'll be helping advance strategy, questioning things in the business, and you could be business management aligned to banking or markets, whatever. So it's quite a broad division. And essentially, it's a really good one as well, because again, what kind of appealed to me on doing an internship in that area is that if I could convert when I was thinking in 2018, knowing that the grad program was 3 years, you knew that your rotations would be like, you'd be getting the opportunity to rotate in 3 very different areas. So that's kind of what appealed to me. And in terms of what I did in my internship, it's kind of a role where, without going into the specifics too much, it's kind of like what we looked at, kind of the legal entity side of things. Knowing JP Morgan, there's a huge structure behind, people think of one name, but behind that name, you've got hundreds of different legal entities. And this is kind of like, it was a team where essentially, with Brexit, things are being opened or things are being closed or moved around. So that's kind of what we were doing. It was quite an interesting role.
And then, so you do the 10 weeks and then do they let you know at the end if you've got an offer, or is there an assessment center? How does it work?
Yeah, so in this pre-COVID era where you feel, when was the pre-COVID era? Like it was kind of like, we were based on like, at the start, you have your targets and then you have your mid-internship review. And essentially I got to the end of my internship where I had my BAU, which is business as usual. So the day-to-day tasks. Then I had my project, which is kind of the thing that I was based on. And essentially it was those things that allowed my boss at the end of the internship to be right, he has met, exceeded, not met these targets. And kind of what people underestimate, and I even touched on this when I did a Zoom call a couple of weeks ago, like when it comes to the conversion and people are utterly fixated on how do you convert, convert, like what people need to realize is the dynamics behind that. Like when it comes to any of your internship, the only person that's going to back you is your manager. And when it comes to HR asking, does this person deserve an offer? Does this person deserve an offer? It needs to be your manager. And that's where your output, your brand, the way you conducted yourself, like you don't have to reinvent the wheel in 10 weeks. It's not expected of you. It's just, did you do a good job? Did you do what's expected of you? And did you kind of integrate yourself into the team? And looking back, I feel like that was definitely something that was picked up on my review.
Got it. So then you went back to uni knowing, all right, you don't need to apply in your final year for grad schemes. You're chilling. You've got your confirmed offer for a full-time role. And then you graduate. So you graduated last year, 2019.
Literally a year ago. This heat is reminding me of my graduation day where it was like 38 degrees. I imagine the road.
Yeah, that's the worst. That's not the one. So then you start, did they fly you out for training in New York or anything like that?
The training was essentially based in London. We had kind of 2 weeks of, meeting the other grads, familiarizing ourselves with the divisions within our thing, essentially other sort of things that we just had to get done in those first couple of weeks. And essentially we just hit our desk, our team, I think it was the second week.
Got it. Okay, fair. So when you graduated and joined full-time, did you join the same team that you interned with? And it would be good, because you mentioned the rotational program, it would be good to learn a bit more about that.
Yeah, so the team I moved into wasn't the team I interned with. So again, another opportunity for me to see a totally different area of the business. So we don't use our first year rotation, so that's kind of assigned to us. So I moved into that in September of last year, so September 2019. And then that'll be until September 2020. So that's 1 year. And that area, again, since it's finance and business management, within finance, you'll have a whole different variety of roles. And I work specifically on the financial side. So that's essentially, producing reports, sending it to the regulator. So that's kind of broadly the role I do here.
Got it. And how long are the rotations? Just 1 year each? I say just, that's a long time.
So
just 2 rotations.
Yeah, so exactly. So over 3 years, you have 3 different rotations, but you only choose 2 of them. And, we got insight into this. So essentially the way it works is, you have like a multitude of buckets, and then, you rank those, and then you may be assigned a bucket. And essentially that's that level of granularity going from this to this, like that shows you how there's such a broad spectrum of roles. And that's what really appealed to me. And it's good that thinking got validated, that actually, if I wanted to maybe go for this, or if I wanted to go for that, like I had the opportunity to.
Yeah, got it. Okay, tricky question coming up. Tricky for many, actually. If you were to explain your role to a 5-year-old, what would you say you do?
Okay, that's a good question. I'm gonna have to think about that for a bit. But I feel if it was speaking to a 5-year-old, I would have to get some props in. So if I gave a 5-year-old some sweets, like the individual sweets, and I asked her to hide them, I would act as a regulator, and I would ask that 5-year-old, how many sweets do you have?
Okay.
And she 4. And then we could go a month later, and I'll be like, how many sweets do you have? And she could say 2. And then me as a regulator, I may be like, well, why has that gone down? And then you'd have to explain herself.
Okay, nice.
And that's it. And that's essentially what happens.
No, cool. That's easy to understand. And then I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, what does a day in the life look like? Obviously, right now it's COVID, you're working from home, but when you were going to the office, going to Canary Wharf, what time were you getting in? What time were you leaving? What was a typical day like for you?
Yeah, so I'm very thankful that my role was repetitive on a daily basis. So, and my hours were pretty steady in that way. So, for me, I'm a morning person. I like getting a little bit into the office just before 8:30, 8:15, just because sometimes I like to get in when it's quiet, clear out my emails, know the to-do list, set some structure to my day. And to be honest, I still apply that now. I just get the extra hour at home to like either meditate or attempt to do some exercise or some nonsense like that. So like, I think definitely that's kind of the set day. And in terms of like specifically when you're working in a role which is financial, and you are working towards deadlines, they are constant throughout every month. So in essence, your month kind of follows a similar structure where the beginning of the month looks like this, the mid-month you're kind of sending your reports, then the end month, you're either taking holiday or, you've got some queries due or whatever. So in terms of that was kind of my day-to-day. You could get in and you could be, uploading adjustments and making some amendments to the numbers, making sure that things reconcile to the general ledger. Like these are the sort of tasks on a day-to-day basis that we as a team kind of do.
Got it. Super interesting. In terms of pros and cons, what do you really like about your role, and what are some of the things that you think they could be improved or you could do without?
Yeah, sure. So I think in terms of the pros, and very, very specifically to this being my first rotation, I think the opportunity to like get a really good grounding on some core financials, the opportunity to work in a team that's based in multiple locations, kind of like the skills and the competencies that get really stretched that will help you going forward. So like I'm saying, working to deadlines, working with teams on multiple time zones, dealing with time pressures, unexpected situations, leading on initiatives. Those are the sort of skills that in terms of my role now, I've had so much insight into. Like I've really appreciated that it's kind of grounded me. And, everyone comes into graduating thinks, well, I'm so mature and I know what's going on. But actually you realize once you get into the environment and you are a grad and even when you think, oh, I've done an internship here before, it'll be so similar. It's not. Like it's a different pace. And everyone echoes that sentiment once you come in. I feel definitely it's kind of matured me, grounded me, and looking back, like I feel so confident, dealing with certain situations, whether it's senior people, whether it's working on initiatives on my own, or even, just like even simple things like using Excel and pivots and simple like that, you know? So
it makes you a more rounded person. And I think working for a company like JP Morgan or going, you know, in the industry in general, you come in as a student, as a graduate, and then you leave with a set of skills that allow you to go and do or be comfortable doing a lot more things in your next move, or if you go to a different industry, etc. So you learn a lot, very steep learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. Very steep learning curve. And, you know, you look back, like, I remember the learning curve. When you're in that learning curve, you're thinking, God, like, what am I doing? Why don't I just quit and farm? Like, what am I doing in my life? My first gray hair, like, why am I doing this? You know, like that sort of stuff. But then you actually look back and you think, actually, it was so important I went through that. And it's so important I went through those tough situations, because going forward, you can deal with it better and it won't feel like such a daunting experience, you know? So they're definitely the things that I take from this role.
How much of, so because you did a degree in business and management, how much of that would you say you use in your day-to-day role? Because obviously all of these roles in the banks, they encourage applicants from different degree disciplines. Would you say most of it was learned on the job, or do you use stuff from your degree?
So like in a sentence, I don't necessarily use my degree on a day-to-day basis, but knowing on business management, I could be very tactical with the modules I choose. So even though me and my friends both did the same degree, we obviously had different modules, and essentially the degree would look totally different. So me tactically, I chose modules like economics, you know, accounting, company valuation. It exposed me to certain concepts that made me feel that when I saw certain things like, you know, the balance sheet, P&L on my day-to-day role, it wasn't so unfamiliar. So that's kind of it. Like university, in terms of modules, it gives you that initial sight of new things, and then knowing in the workplace, you can relate back to it.
One more question, and that's going to be your advice and tips, if any, to students and graduates out there watching this video.
Yeah, so I think, you know, knowing it's such a tough market out there in terms of opportunities, what I think is so important is ask yourselves the questions really personally. Why do you actually want to work in banking? Don't think about what sounds good or what you think will get you an interview. Ask yourself, why do you want to work in banking? What is it about that? What divisions? And, you know, once you start mapping out those questions, you can start articulating a very personal story, and that will allow you to essentially make yourself unique. Because the question you need to see is what makes you different to the thousands of other people who are also ticking a box of good grades, good uni, good degree. What makes you unique? And once you start articulating those things on a personal level, I think you'll be able to navigate that experience far more easily. Because for me, knowing I had certain experiences, I had certain ideas of where I wanted to go to and what I was driven by, that essentially allowed me to like hone in my efforts. So I think that's really important. And in terms of like building out the CV, everyone talks about, okay, I need a grad job. Then, like, you know, your videos, I saw, you know, you've articulated so well. You've got the internships, you've got the spring weeks, you've got the insight days. Try and make sure that when you go to university, you hit the ground running with making sure that you get that exposure of insight days, insight weeks, making sure that you can really show that you've got a clear passion to want to work in this field. And that will essentially allow you to differentiate yourself amongst so many other people.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good advice. And the point about having your own story, super important, because like in essence, when you're in an interview, you're pitching yourself, right? And the better the story, the more likely you are to get an offer. So, you know, everything you touch on there, I fully relate to and agree with, because it's so important. And obviously myself and you, we're kind of living proof that, you know, all these things we've done and it's kind of worked out for us, which is always is good to see, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Without taking any more of your time, is there anything you want to shout out, any projects, any work you're working on, any websites? And if so, or if not, what's the best way for people to kind of reach out to you? Because I know they might have questions. Happy to like link your LinkedIn in the video description, but if there's anything else.
Yeah, sure. So I think definitely in this COVID era, it's kind of prompted me to feel that, do you know what, I do have a little bit more spare time on the weekends. I should try and reach out more. And I hosted a really successful Zoom call a couple of weeks ago. It blew up in a way because I was only expecting around like 10 or 20 people to like register their interest, and then like 2,000 people commented on it, and it got seen by like 500,000 people. It went ridiculous. I've tried to a good deed has now, like you said about seeds, planting seeds. I've tried to find ways in which I can help out more, whether it's panel events, whether it's more one-to-one mentoring. And essentially I set up my personal website, arjunjeffwa.com. Again, it's in its infancy at the moment, but again, it's a way in which I feel I can help people who maybe come from certain backgrounds and just need that extra nudge. Because what I've seen, since that call on LinkedIn, so many people are there in terms of their interests, their hobbies, they've ticked those boxes, but we just need a little bit of a nudge in the right direction. And, I've tried to make sure that, I reach out. So again, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll try and reply as soon as I can. But again, I've got my website that I'm trying to get up.
That's amazing. That is amazing. I'll link your LinkedIn and your personal website and the Not Going to Uni website as well in the video description. Mate, it's been a pleasure. If you've got any questions or, once COVID and that is done, we'll grab a coffee or what have you.
Man.
Always, you've got my details. Just reach out to me whenever.
Yeah, sure. And I think I've got you on. I've got you on LinkedIn. I think I've got you on Instagram and stuff. So yeah, no, definitely. I'll drop you a message.
Sweet, man. Nice one. Take care. Have a good rest of the day, man.
Bye.